Hello, I'm Cecile Richard. I'm a graphic designer, game designer, and zine maker. My piece is called I Am Still Here, and it's a very short game about ghosts, lockdown, the end of lockdown, and how to be real again. This piece came about in this very gradual and organic way, so I wouldn't be able to pinpoint the exact inspiration for it. I had the idea of making a most straightforward ghost story, which then changed into a more unconventional, metaphorical ghost story. The visuals feel very much inspired by places I've been to, like the kitchen, the street, and the train station, and places I dreamt of going during lockdown, the forest, the lake, and a bit of nature. As I worked on the project, the restrictions in Melbourne started easing, and that definitely inspired me too. I wanted to capture that feeling of renewed joy that felt very real in the first weeks of November, which is why the game has this really hopeful, self-affirming tone. I've always worked from home as a freelancer, so there wasn't a huge change in how or where I was working. What changed, I think, is that it became a lot harder to separate work from non-work, as home became not only a workplace and a living place, but also the only place for being social, through Zoom calls, Discord chats, and all that. There is little room for spontaneity during a pandemic, and because a lot of my creative stimulation comes from spontaneously being out and about, it became that much harder to focus, find ideas, be happy with my work. I don't think anyone can anticipate this. You just have to keep on going somehow. Generally, when I'm making a Bitsy game, I plan out a rough storyboard and then write a script for it. Once I start grasping the shape of what the game is going to be, I make the art for it, build the game gradually, and at the end I include the final text. This game was a little special because it uses this mod of Bitsy for making 3D spaces, so I had to factor in the time I spent figuring out how it works. I'd always wanted to make a 3D Bitsy game, so when I was told about the AR aspect of the project, I knew I could do something interesting with it. I've always loved ghost stories. I was a quiet kid at school whose favourite time to shine was on school trips when my classmates wanted to hear spooky stories and I'd scare them all by telling ghost stories that I heard on Japanese TV programs. I always thought the scariest stories are told by one person in a dark room, because you get to focus on the words and the imagination takes care of everything else. Around the time I was working on this piece, I was watching a bunch of horror films involving ghosts. One of my favourites is Pulse from 2001, in which ghosts are representative of depression and loneliness and desperate attempts to connect, and how the internet is this conduit both helping us connect and exacerbating the divide between us. The film is on my mind a lot because the pandemic and subsequent lockdowns really did propulse us into the realm of an almost exclusively virtual space, and being seen as a physical person became this weird alien thing. I Am Still Here isn't a scary story, but it is about hauntings, being haunted, doing the haunting. But it's also about the joy of finding each other again.